Hello and welcome to Team PokeMart, your one-stop shop for the things that you need to stop and/or shop for. And today I went to get some fresh produce to put on the old shelves, and what do you know? I opened a box to find, instead of some delicious poke carrots, some plump and seriously juicy looking Oddish instead. I mean, who knows how long they've been nestled here, but my carrots are nowhere to be seen. Such menaces. Adorable menaces, but still those carrots are coming out of my pay. And so to make up for that deficit, I have brought these Oddish front of store in the hopes that they may charm their way into your hearts, much like how I hope to charm you into clicking the subscribe button. Because subscribing enables you to receive the latest updates on everything Team PokeMart, including new stock, discussion videos, and even top 10 lists. But shameful advertising aside, let's get into some shameful advertising. Oddish is a happy little grass poison plant boy whose body is composed of a blue sphere with little feet and the happiest tiny grin. Oddish have miniature red eyes, which sound scary and demonic at first, but it kind of works for Oddish because they are the furthest thing from scary. Annoying, very annoying, but not scary. I mean, look at it. On top of its head are, on average, 5 wide green leaves that are roughly just as long as its little Oddish body, sometimes bigger, thus making it the crowning aesthetic of said Oddish. And as with other simple-looking Gen 1 Pokemon, there really isn't too much else to say about its appearance. They really took the most minimal approach to this little sprout, and you know what? There is nothing wrong with that. I mean, not everything needs to be an overcomplicated mess of unnecessary detail, and really this might be showing my age, but back in my day, when it came to Pokemon, all we got was a sphere and a leaf, and damned if we weren't happy with it. Oddish takes its name from a combination of the words odd and radish, though radishes are red, so the blue color doesn't initially make a whole lot of sense until you realize that Oddish was designed by Spanish painter Pablo Picasso, who quite famously said, "If I don't have red, I use blue." And that is how Oddish was born during the Expressionist era of painting. Looking at its Pokedex entries provides us with some fantastic insight into this otherwise simple being. Oddish are apparently nocturnal Pokemon, meaning that most of their activity takes place at night. During the day, Oddish will bury itself in the soil, with its leafy hairdo sticking up out of the ground, much like an actual plant, and whilst there, it absorbs all of the necessary nutrients, so that once the sky darkens, the Oddish awakens, replenished with energy, and looking around to scatter some seeds. And no, that's not a euphemism, at least I hope not. Though we see its feet as, well, feet, and Oddish's feet are actually believed to be its roots, and change whilst it is buried in the ground. In fact, if you came across a wild Oddish during the daytime and tried to pull it from the ground, it would shriek, and quite horrifically at that, much like a mandrake from Harry Potter, which I'm told is a very popular franchise. But after a lifetime of soil suckage, at level 21, Oddish will embark on its evolutionary quest and become a Gloom. Still maintaining the spherical body that Oddish had with the addition of 2 little arms, Gloom is definitely the disappointing stoner teenager of this particular line. At a glance, its most notable facial feature is its thicker purple lips with the perpetual drool hanging out of the corner there. It tends to keep its eyes closed, making it look like it's in need of a long nap or even currently engaged in a long nap, which the drool also doesn't help with. The green leaves Oddish once had are now orange and pushed downwards by 4 petal-like spheres. Oh, and also these petals are a great indicator of whether or not your Gloom is male or female, as if the petal has 4 spots, then it's a male, whereas 1 big spot means it is a female. And now let's put that learning into action. Can you tell me the biological placement of this particular Gloom? Of course you can, dear viewer, because you are amazing, intelligent, beautiful, and wealthy. Wealthy enough to purchase one of our fine Oddish. With that said, I do have a bit of a disclaimer here, because one striking, potentially detrimental fact about Gloom is that it stinks. It stinks a lot. Although the Gloom itself doesn't seem to think so. But unfortunately, the smell will worsen if the Gloom feels threatened. So my advice to you would be not to threaten it, you moron. Especially since supposedly inhaling too much of its stinky pollen can result in memory loss, which does also happen commonly when inhaling too much of any given recreational substance. And you know what? Maybe as a result of that, Gloom just forgets how bad it smells, and that's why it likes the smell, because it doesn't know any better. It's not just Gloom who likes the smell though, as a survey conducted in the world of Pokemon's results made its way into the Pokedex on one occasion and stated that around 1 in 1,000 people enjoy its nose-bending stink. That is a direct quote, nose-bending stink. And you know what? Sure, I guess there's someone for every kink. Gloom's aforementioned drool, which hangs out of its mouth, is not in fact drool, but is in fact nectar, used to lure in unsuspecting prey. Described as being honey-like in texture and taste, its nectar apparently smells just as bad as Gloom itself, which makes me personally skeptical about the taste, given that smell informs roughly 80% of taste. But for something very, very exciting now, Gloom is a Pokemon who has the rare option of a split evolution. Other examples of split evolution are the Eevee line, where you can choose from one of 8 potential potential evolutions, as well as the route sign, where you can either get a Gardevoir or a Gallade, dependent on gender or the use of a Dawnstone. And in this case, you can choose between using a Sunstone or a Leaf Stone when it comes to evolving your Gloom. Using a Leaf Stone on Gloom will get you a Vileplume, the original Gen 1 evolution of the Oddish line. And if you were interested in Leaf Stones, then I will throw one in for half price with your Oddish purchase, because you simply cannot beat our supreme deals here at Team PokeMart. While stocks last, of course, and stocks are not great. Once again though, we see the same blue circular body, which the more I see it, the more I think of that scene from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You know, the one where Violet turns into a blueberry because, well, she sucks and disobeyed all of the very clear rules? I mean, oh dear, she wouldn't last a day in retail where I spend my life consistently taking orders from upper management. But I digress. With Vileplume, this line has finally reopened its eyes, but there are no magical changes here, they're still tiny and red just like Oddish. Flower at top Gloom's head seems to have grown larger, and its leaves have dropped as it transformed into Vileplume. The flower itself looks just like a Rafflesia, which makes sense because they are known to have a truly putridly disgusting smell. In fact, you could even say that Vileplume really lives up to its name, being a vile plume. Haha. Just like Gloom, the petals on this flower can determine its gender exactly the same way. 4 or 5 spots per petal for a male, and 1 large spot per petal for a female. And because Vileplume's flower is known to release toxic pollen that can trigger severe hay fever or allergic reactions, it is often advised that you stay clear of any flowers in jungle-esque areas. And what's worse, the bigger Vileplume's petals are, the more toxic its pollen will be. But if Vileplume simply isn't doing it for you, then your other option is to grab yourself a Sunstone so that you can get yourself a Blossom. First introduced in Generation 2, Blossom stops inheriting the round blue body shape and instead adopts a more chibi humanoid torso in a green color more commonly used by grass types, which would make sense considering Blossom is a pure grass type Pokemon, unlike its prior evolutions. Blossom has large dark eyes with blue tones and has 2 small blush marks beneath them. Oh, how very kawaii. On top of its head are 2 flowers, and they look similar to the Rafflesia that has been referenced in the Vileplume design, but I cannot say for certain because I am not a botanist. In fact, my job can more or less be summed up as I sell balls for a living. Blossom also sports a skirt made from large leaves in green and brown shades. It is a mystery as to whether the Blossom has feet or not, one which you, dear customer, are more than welcome to solve after your visit to Team PokeMart. But considering every prior evolution does, it would be safe to assume that Blossom does and is just a much more modest member of the Oddish family. Its overall look is inspired by hula dancers, which is painfully comical when you realize that the Oddish line is not able to be caught in the Alola region. Yes, the region based on Hawaii, where hula dancers originate from, but that's alright because you get fat Persian instead. Good trade-off. Pokedex entries state that Blossom thrives in tropical climates, and when it dances, its petals rub together and create a lovely ringing sound. And this dance is believed to be some sort of ritual designed to praise the sun. Now, if the Blossom was a particularly stinky Gloom previously, then I do have some good news for you, because the flowers will bloom far more beautifully than a Gloom whose stink is only quote-unquote normal, meaning normal for a Gloom that is. Still putrid for humanity, to be clear. Though I can't find much information on whether Blossom itself smells bad or not. I suppose I would assume the latter just because it no longer shares the poison typing. This thing is 100% pure grass and just, I love the smell of fresh grass, so that's what I'm going to assume Blossom exudes. As for prominent appearances in the series, out of all of the gym leaders and Elite Four members, only Erica and Karen used Pokemon from this line. Erica, the grass type leader of Celadon City, has a Vileplume in Pokemon Red and Blue, however in Pokemon Yellow they switched it out for a Gloom, which is most likely a reference to the anime rendition of her character. Meanwhile, in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, Erica instead has a Blossom, which is a new addition to the Pokedex in the 2nd gen games. After these games, she typically alternates between Vileplume and Blossom in her later appearances throughout the Pokemon series. Meanwhile, Karen, the Dark type Elite Four member of Gold and Silver, also has a Vileplume on her team despite it not being a Dark type Pokemon. It doesn't even have any Dark type moves. So this appearance doesn't really make all that much sense. I mean, just what do you think you're doing, Karen? You're making a mockery of the Elite Four, that's what. In other news, an Oddish was briefly shown at the start of the episode Bulbasaur and the Hidden Village, sipping some water in the wild. Ash and Misty then both debate on who should catch it, with Misty making the initial attempt using one of her star things, which knocks the poor little Oddish out, only to then have her Pokeball throw blocked by the protective Bulbasaur in question, which would later become Ash's Bulbasaur. Also in the episode Holy Matrimony, which centers on James's backstory in his family's aristocracy, it was revealed that he was in an arranged marriage to Jezebel, a southern doppelganger of his teammate Jesse. Jezebel is a feisty woman who scares James and berates everything he does, much like real Jessie. And Jezebel's trademark partner Pokemon is a Vileplume, though it is unknown if she has other Pokemon. However, it is revealed that she has had the Vileplume ever since it was an Oddish. Some more fun facts about the Oddish line. Oddish is the only Pokemon to have a pseudo-Latin quote-unquote scientific name, which is Odium wanderus. This information can be found in its fire red Pokedex entry or right here because I just said it. Strangely enough, Oddish is unable to use dig, despite the fact that it basically burrows, or digs if you will, itself under the soil during the day. And I mean like every day. If there is anything that should know how to dig, it is this plant thing. Gloom was the only Pokemon known to evolve from a dual type Pokemon into a singular type, until of course the arrival of Sirfetch'd in Generation 8. Gloom's name, despite being an actual word, like an actual English word even, is given this name because it rhymes with bloom, but it also means sad, which could be in reference to its ever so glum face. Blossom grows lighter when it evolves, shedding roughly 6.2 pounds off its weight as a Gloom, meaning that Blossom is performing a full-on glow-up. And finally, a truly useless fact, aside from Oddish who was left out, this entire evolution line is featured in the Pikachu mini-movie 2 in a dance scene started by 3 Blossom. And that in theory is everything you need to know about the Oddish line. These Pokemon make wonderful companions for any budding grass trainer or dark trainer if you are a Karen, and the fact that you can choose its final evolution makes for a truly unique experience. And to be perfectly honest at this point, I don't think it's even in question as to whether or not you'll be buying one of our fine Oddish. The true question is whether you'll be buying one Oddish or 2. But please do make sure to stop by Team PokeMart and say hi, which you can do in the comments below. And if you're interested in some of our other merchandise, then please do click on these tantalizing links over here on the side. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for regular updates of our new stock. But for now, this has been Team PokeMart, and I'll see you next time.